Welcome, everyone. This is the Abundant Investor Podcast, and we are Beth and Christine, your hosts. We are here to show you how you can live your rich life right now with the power of an abundance mindset and tools the wealthy have used for years that are accessible to the rest of us. Things like real estate investing and using the powerful benefits of life insurance. We're so glad you're here. Now let's dive in.
Welcome back to the Abundant Investor Podcast, everyone. I'm your host, Beth Rooney. I'm here with Christine Fiske, and today we're going to talk about should you renovate or should you move? And we're going to really drill down on renovating, how to set your mindset up, what the process looks like, and what the benefits can be if you can stomach the short-term pain for the long-term gain.
And I love this conversation.
Yes, exactly. And I say that in jest because it really doesn't have to be painful. We're here to try to take that out. We're going to walk you through the process, some of the phases. We're going to give you some hacks along the way. And we're going to start off talking about having the right mindset, though. I think it's so important, right, Christine?
Absolutely. So going back to what you said before, this is, it's certainly, we acknowledge renovating a home, especially one that you're living in, is not for everyone. And if you're up for it, it is an amazing opportunity to build equity and to customize a home to the design, decor, and use and function that suits your family or for you, suits you best. And so I love the idea of renovating houses for both of those reasons. And certainly Beth and I combined have quite a bit of experience renovating places between our primary residences and investment properties. I would say we've probably done about 10 different renovations just off the top of my head. And we've lived through them. We've moved out. We've done them on properties where we're not living. We've worked with probably many different contractors because I can say that for myself. And I know, Beth, you've found some amazing help in terms of the contractors. And we want to share with you what we've learned so that to make your next renovation easier and also help demystify the process if you're thinking of buying a fixer-upper. Because also, as you said, right, Beth, there's a lot more opportunities to buy houses that need work right now, as opposed to being able to walk into any market right now, especially in a suburb near a big city, and find the finished product, the type of house that you are, is really turnkey and is exactly what you want. And if you're willing to go through it, you can create a beautiful space that really fits your need. Maybe you like mid-century modern, maybe you're more traditional, maybe you're looking to renovate in a beachy vibe. All of that is available, and all of the design inspiration is online these days. And I think for a lot of people, that's exciting and inspiring and fun to go through. So we're going to demystify the process a bit and walk you through some of the process and some of our hacks.
I love it. I love it. Exactly. And, with the real estate market being like it is, with inventory being low, use this podcast as your guide to say, should we be looking at homes that need to be renovated? And hopefully we'll give you all the details in the, sort of the big picture and the details underneath around what it looks like so you can make a sound decision. So, with that said, we've broken this down into about 5 phases of the renovation. And the first one is to start thinking about your plan and your vision, right? What is the plan? What are you trying to do? Are you putting on an addition? Are you just renovating within the 4 walls of the property? What's your vision? Like you just said, how do you want to use each space? And sometimes it's great if you've been living in a home and you get a feel for it. You get a real feel for, okay, we're missing an entryway where the kids can just drop their backpacks. We need a mudroom or, that kind of thing. So after living in a home for a little bit, you sort of get a feel, or even just walking through. So having a scope of project is important, having a budget, and then hiring. There's two big hires in this stage. There's hiring a builder and hiring an architect if you're tearing walls down and needing plans. And most likely, if you're doing a big renovation, you're going to need architectural plans to get your building permit. And you're going to need a contractor to get your building permit. So this is a big phase, and it's actually really fun.
It actually, yeah, absolutely. And I love that. And I think, for some people, renovating might mean simply painting and updating some appliances, maybe their countertops, and you don't need perhaps all of those parties. I think, you've got to decide what's the scope. Is this a tear down, or, like pretty much tear down the inside? I just walked through a property a couple of weeks ago that had the same footprint as one of my investments, and they made the first floor look entirely different from what it originally did. And the use was very functional for what they wanted to use it for. So it's very much a personal thing. And you want to be thinking also about the market. If this is a property that later on down the line, in the near future, and I say near future, meaning like next 5 to even 10 years, you're going to be putting it back on the market. You do want to take into consideration, if you're trying to build equity and resell it, you might want to be thinking about what's good for resale later on too. So the vision is so important, and thinking through like, what do you really want in this space, and what will other people want later on? Or maybe you just say, it doesn't matter what other people want. I'm going to go all out on this, and I'm going to design it. We've certainly, Beth, especially you, and in real estate for so many years, seen properties that are very customized that aren't going to fit a lot of people's tastes. And if money's not an object, or you don't really care about resale, that's fine. And if you do, you're going to want to think about some of that. But yes, and so the architect is really important in cases where you are going to be making major renovations, tearing down walls, building out. And then your contractor, I would say, if you're doing any type of project where you're bringing in a general contractor, this is your most important hire.
Yeah, 100%. And having built a home from the ground up, and having, bought a home and put an addition on that doubled the size of the home, I spoke to, let's just start with architects. My husband and I interviewed well over 5 architects when we built the home from the ground up. And it's one of the areas that can have the most diversity in cost. And again, it's going to depend on what you know and what you want. So at the lowest end of the spectrum in terms of cost, you have a plan in mind. You've already spoken likely with a contractor, and you just need someone to build out the plan and stamp it so that the plans can get approved at the town hall to get your permit. Okay. And so that architect is not interviewing you and finding out what your needs are. You're going to them and that you're saying, this is what I'm looking for. Can you build me the plans? And that's all you want from them. So that's at the lowest end of the spectrum in terms of cost. I often found that these are folks that maybe are retired from being an architect at a larger firm and are doing this sort of on the side for fun. Their technology isn't, huge. We actually had someone use our home that we built. He actually hand wrote all of the architectural plans, which was incredible. So that's at one end of the spectrum. On the far end of the spectrum, on the other side, is that if you're hiring a large, like a builder that's part of a larger company, they probably have on site an architect and a whole planning team that will plan everything from, picking paint colors to providing 3D plans where you can kind of walk through the rooms. I mean, there's some amazing technology. And in those cases, you're going to have a builder, a designer, a contractor, the architect, all in one team. It's like a one-stop shopping, and that's a beautiful opportunity too. It's just going to be a lot more expensive, but you're going to be served along the way. You're getting that value along the way of not having to worry about, what size refrigerator you need or anything like that. Your designer will pick all that for you. So those are the two ends of the spectrum, and there's everything in between for larger renovations. But when you're looking to do this, I think what you want to ask yourself is, what are you trying to accomplish, and what kind of service are you looking for?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yep. And for a lot of people, that one-stop shop is really a beautiful, seamless way to get their vision brought to life. And it's probably quite a bit less stressful. Although my experience has been that the stress that people bring to the renovation is similar to the stress that they feel in life. And the way they handle it is kind of the way that they handle life. So I've seen people with small renovations, including coaching clients of mine, be pretty stressed out. And then I have it's funny, I have a lot of clients who've gone through renovations, because I'm thinking about another one who did an entire house renovation, and he's really kept his cool throughout the whole thing. Although, like, I've heard about the details, and the ups and downs have been pretty wild. And so I think, it goes back to mindset a bit, and what's your strength and what's your forte. And don't be afraid to ask for help, especially if you have the budget to bring in additional support. Why not, especially to the women out there, why not be supported? Because we tend to take on a lot. So if it's fun for you, go for it. And the same goes for when we get into talking about actually the DIY. Some people want to roll up their sleeves and get their hands dirty and learn how to tile their backsplash, or learn how to install their bathroom fixtures. Great. I'm not interested in a lot of that. I have done a lot of that, and there's certain things that I just say, no, I'm cool if I never learn how to do this.
Right. Exactly. And I think being on the same page with your spouse or your partner throughout this is so important.
Oh my gosh.
So having these conversations, and it's just like everything, what you give out is what you'll get back. And so, having a nice relationship with all of these people that you're going to be spending the next 6, 8, maybe 12 months with is really important. And also knowing that these projects always take longer than you think they're going to. So there's things that come up, especially if you're buying an older home and renovating. You don't know what's behind the walls. You don't know what you're going to get with water tables. So knowing that and having a mindset of, okay, this is a blip on the screen of time. Right. And at the end, I'm going to have the house that I've always dreamed of. And if something gets delayed a couple of weeks, it's not the end of the world. Because if you start off with that contentious kind of relationship with all the people that are building this beautiful project for you, it's not going to be as fun as if you, I remember my husband on Fridays would bring, we were doing a lot of the building in the cold winter months. So every Friday he would get a huge kettle of soup and great bread and some, waters and what have you, and bring a hot lunch to the workers. And boy, did that make them, feel better. And,
I love that so much.
Yeah, a nice cup of hot soup on a cold Friday was always helped.
It's so awesome. And it's so true, Beth. What you put in is what you get out. I remember hearing a story from an acquaintance about his contractor and how they got really contentious with each other. And in the end, someone ended up pouring, I think, concrete down some pipes.
Oh, goodness.
And created a really bad scenario. And you just want to avoid all of that. So, if you haven't practiced your patience yet, this is a really good opportunity to practice your patience and working with contractors, because stuff does come up. Stuff's going to come up with you, with them, and then in the environment that are just beyond people's control.
Right. And there's a lot of people involved. There's a lot of people that are going to be in and out of the house. There's a lot of personalities. My dad owned a construction company, Donahoe Construction. They did more commercial work, but I remember the story. This is an industry that's known as being that can be contentious, because if the plumber doesn't show up when he's supposed to show up, it screws everything else up down the line. And so knowing this going in and really working on a mindset of being flexible, of working with the people that are building the home and appreciating what they're doing and understanding that you might have to bend a little bit and not being taken advantage of, being, eyes wide open, having a set budget and all that kind of stuff. But just that mindset is really important when you're doing a project like this. So one of the hacks that we have is something kind of fun. There's a website called Houzz, Houzz. If you haven't used it, there's literally over 2 million pictures of interiors and exteriors and landscaping of homes. So you can say, okay, I want to make a decision about, let's say it's the windows, and you don't know if you want to use white windows or black windows. You can go in and type in black windows and get pictures of homes that have used black windows. You can just look at kitchens. You can just look at bathrooms. You can just look at patios. So what we suggest is that you start an account on Houzz and you create a folder for all of the areas that you're doing a renovation. So if you're going to be doing a kitchen, start a kitchen folder, a bathroom folder, and get your partner on board so that you can it will really help you build a vision, because sometimes it's hard when somebody asks you if you are a traditional or what's your style?
Modernist.
It's hard to know.
Yeah. And I think that just starting to visualize. So I always say I'm visual. I really need to see it. I really like to see it. And I really get inspired by what I see either on Houzz. I happen to like Pinterest as well. I know a lot of people already have Pinterest accounts. It's another place where you can create room by room, basically vision boards with things that you like. So either way, and I think to start to collect and look at pictures of what you like, it's really rare that I would do even small style renovation without looking at pictures and really getting an idea for ideas for certain items, so that I can then take that to a builder and say, hey, here's the type of hood that I would like over my range. And that's something that we actually just did. And to be able to say, like, can you build me something like this? Or would I have to go purchase it out of, and out of the box, you take it out and put it in. And my contractor just said, oh, that's really straightforward. We can build that for you. No problem. And that was great to show the visual and to say, okay, and here's the placement of the sconces that I like. And to be able to show that to my out-of-state contractor and just say, here is the way that I want the sconces to look next to the range. Is that doable? And they say, yeah, then no problem. Right. And then they keep pulling those pictures up as reference points, which makes me feel better. Like they know what I'm seeing and vice versa.
Yep. It's really important, especially if you're taking on a more hands-on approach. If you're not hiring a construction management design kind of company, I think that yes, and it's just, even if you are, it's great to do that. And pictures tell a thousand words, right? And I think that's really great. We're talking about the first phase. We spent a lot of time talking about this so far, but it's so important to get to no pun intended, lay the foundation. Exactly. What's your plan? What's your vision? What's the scope of the project? What's your budget? Who's your contractor? What do your plans look like? What does your timetable look like? The next stage is to really start to start the project. And that is going to entail things like pulling permits, which can take a while. Mm-hmm. It's going to you're going to start to make a plan for where you're going to live during the project. Are you going to stay and live through it, which is possible, or are you going to move out? And what is your final funding and plan schedule look like? So construction loans are awesome. There's various, we've had 2 different experiences with them. We had a local bank the first time when we built a house, and they were very sort of laid back about each phase of construction. They'd send the appraiser over, make sure that what we said was done, and then the next day the money was in our account. Then when we did a renovation on another project, we used a larger bank, and they were very much on a schedule, and you had to meet their schedule, a lot less flexibility. But either one, you're gonna have a plan with them, and there's going to be milestones where they're going to send an appraiser out. The appraiser is going to check that work was done, and then they will release funds. It's the way it works.
With a construction loan. And then there's other ways to do it too, right? Some people will take out equity. They'll take out a home equity line of credit. You might have cash set aside that you've been saving up for something like this. And I think it's really important, no matter which route you're going, is that you take into consideration the cost and then a cushion, because things will come up. It's very unpredictable. And also things might change. You might change your mind about the type of door that you want, and discover that you would love one that's twice the cost of the original door that you picked out. So, or anything for that matter. So you always want to have some cushion set aside, and just anticipate that it's likely going to cost more than the initial estimate that you receive.
Yep, 100%. And you also want to take into account the cost of housing while you're doing the work. So if you do decide to move out, you have a lot of options. We've done 3 different things. Once we lived with family, we lived with my parents while we started a project. You can use Furnish Finder and get a short-term furnished rental. That's a really great option. You can you can go to sort of local condo complexes, and oftentimes they'll have a couple of apartments that are furnished that you can rent short-term, month to month. Which is a little bit different than Furnish Finder. Is typically going to be a home, and you're renting, or even if it's a condo, you're renting directly in most cases from the homeowner. So that is, or again, you'll move in with family and be, mentally prepared for that too.
Exactly.
That takes the right mindset.
It does take the right mindset. And so does living through the renovation. So if you decide to forego moving out, we did a kitchen renovation with 2 small kids years ago, and we turned our dining room into our kitchen. So we moved the refrigerator in there because we were keeping it until we got our new one, I guess, is what we did. And then we had a toaster oven and a microwave, and we set up a little table in there. And for probably 6 weeks, the bulk of the renovation, we lived in that makeshift dining room kitchen now, and just had plastic sheets up around where our kitchen was. And it was doable. I mean, if that's what your budget allows, which is what we were working with at the time, you can definitely make it work. And again, patience and leaning on paper products, figuring out like where you can make life easier is definitely something you want to do. But I think no matter what your budget, there's all different options. And
absolutely. The crock pot becomes your friend, right?
The crock pot, love the crock pot during those times. And the grill, if it's the summer, the grill is awesome.
Yeah.
You can make it work.
Yep, absolutely. So first phase is, creating that plan and vision. Second phase is now pulling the permits, making your, finalizing your budget, making your plan for how long it's going to take, where you're going to live, all that kind of great stuff. All right. So phase 3 is a quick one. It's the demo phase. Okay. So in most cases, you have to take 1 step back to take 2 steps forward. And that's pulling the walls down and seeing what's underneath. Again, being mentally prepared for not knowing what's going to be underneath there. We found in one of our renovations that we had to make a change to our heating HVAC system because we just couldn't get through the granite basement. We had to come up with a secondary heating system for the addition on the first floor. So you go with it. You didn't know that before. Now you know it. And there's always a solution to the problem. So
there's always a solution.
Yep, there's always a solution. So yep, especially if you have a great contractor. Yes. And then the phase 4 is really, I've called this the fun starts here. And that's rebuilding everything. And the good thing to know about here is that it's a very specific process, and that a really great contractor will lead you through that process, because you can't do step B until step A is completely finished. And there's a rhyme and a reason to what they do. And a good contractor, this rolls off their tongue. It's easy for them because they've done it over and over again. Mm-hmm. And they will guide you as to your decision-making process. Mm-hmm. Everybody wants to start with the fun stuff, right? I want my kitchen. I want to design my kitchen. I want to see what the kitchen's going to look like. I want to pick the cabinet colors or the wall colors or all that great stuff. That's part, to me, maybe not for everybody, but for me, that was exciting. And I remember my contractor kept saying, don't talk to me about a kitchen. I don't want to hear it. You have one task this week. And whatever that task was, maybe it was picking my windows or picking interior doors or handles of those doors. We designed it ourselves. So we did not have an interior designer telling us, okay, here's 3 beautiful doors. You get to pick one. We were starting with sort of like any door you want. But for all of you folks in real estate out there, this is a competitive advantage you have, I would say, or an advantage, or like just a bonus that you've been through so many homes. You start to understand what a good, some of these interior, thinking of doors, what looks good in a home, and what paint colors you like, and what's trending. So
design and function for sure. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think that's something, and you can spend a lot of time on these websites that we talked about before too, the House and the Pinterest, and looking through blogs of designers that you find that you like their style to get ideas. And then you really do want to think about the functionality. And I'm thinking about your office, Beth. You have that beautiful sunny office there, and you've got to make that room into an office was brilliant, to put a door on that so that you have a space to work. And then you can open the French door and it can feel like it flows with the rest of the house at the same time. It makes so much sense. So that's, you want to think about the use case, the user design, and what is going to make sense for the people that are habitating that house.
Yep. And so this part of the process, it's a set, I'm gonna run you through sort of all of the pieces that happen. You start with foundation, you go to framing, you get your roof and your windows installed. Then you do your plumbing and electrical, and then you're going to have sign-offs from the building department. That's another thing you have to, that could change your time frame a little bit. The building department's backed up, so planning all of that is really important. You're also going to have the bank appraiser coming out along the way, and you want to get ahead of that so you're not waiting 3 or 4 days for them to get there. And then you start the sheetrock and the plaster. You get to start doing your kitchens, your baths, your tiles, your flooring, your painting, and then your final flooring. So it's exciting, and it comes together quick at the end. I remember feeling at the beginning like, wow, is this ever going to get done? And then once those interior walls are up, boy, it starts to take shape, and it's exciting. So
especially if you have a good contractor.
Yeah, exactly.
So just a point on that, because we are going through a renovation right now where we're towards the end and it's going slower. And I just want to say, I think you just talked about building codes and permits. It's really important to work with someone that understands the permitting process in your town. What are the codes? When do you have to abide by those codes? At what point have you done? Usually there's a certain amount of renovation. If you do, then you've got to update the standards of portions of the house to that code. If it's a smaller project, you may not have to, but if the building inspector's coming in, and even though you didn't renovate the stairs, but the stairs aren't up to code anymore, they might make you rebuild those stairs. Does it sound like I'm speaking from personal experience? Maybe I am. So you really want to make sure that this person is A, someone that you trust, B, they're really knowledgeable in the local market, and C, you like working with them and you trust them. And I think to find an amazing contractor, word of mouth, like nothing really beats getting recommendations from people that you trust. When we're working with real estate clients, we happily will share all of our resources locally, and our partners nationwide have most of them have something similar where they will share their trusted resources with you. So that's a great place to start. And you might want to double check and get some other people in and interview a couple different people before you pull the trigger, because this is a really important hire, especially if you're doing a big renovation like the one that you're talking about, Beth.
Yep, absolutely. And I would say also, I'd add a fourth kind of quality to that contractor is being level-headed and having good relationships, not only with the subcontractors, but with all those local inspectors, because those local inspectors are, what they say, you can't get around. You have to do what they say. And so you can be hot-headed and fight with them, or you can use the mantra, you attract more bees with honey, and be really kind to them and polite, and
maybe bring them a crock of soup too.
And even though you're it's like, it's like a referee in a game. Do you know what I mean? You can fight with them, but it usually doesn't pay off, because they can make your life miserable, or they can also make your project go smoothly. And so that's really important. Your contractor, and having that conversation up front. And the more you go into this with being a good client and not causing your contractor to have a ton of headache because you're being a pain in the neck to them, the more they're going to probably reciprocate that and handle the inspectors and the subcontractors with that same vibe and energy. And it's going to make your project go a lot smoother.
Absolutely. Love it. Love it. I think that's super helpful. And I think too, if you're contemplating a renovation or making some updates to your home and you're not sure about whether or not they're adding value to your home, and are going to be interesting for resale, run them by us. Reach out. We'll be happy to take a look. We love to talk about this kind of thing. There's a reason we've both been through a lot of renovations. We're happy to talk to you about any improvements or updates that you might want to make and what type of resale you could expect from something like that. I think it's important in today's market, and you really have an opportunity. It's kind of like a side hustle. You could think of it that way. People are always looking for how to create additional income. Doing a renovation will cost you some money up front. And in the majority of cases, if you do it well, you will reap the rewards later on. And so I like to encourage people to buy a place where they can put their own spin on it and renovate so that they can create more equity, create more value. There's always going to be someone who comes along who does not want to live through it and make the difficult decisions and go through the process. So if you are interested in that at all, I would encourage you to think about what you can do to create more value to where you live today or to your next property.
100%. I'm out shopping with the buyer right now, and we're looking for spaces that we can add finished space to, like unfinished basements. Or we looked at an awesome house the other day that had a walk-up attic that was great space to without having to do things like foundations and all that kind of thing. So I feel as though Christine and I have a great eye for that. So if you're a buyer in the greater Boston area and you want to use us as your agent, we will provide that kind of insight and do it happily, because it's a lot of fun.
Absolutely. So hope this was helpful. And we will probably be touching on this topic again, because again, it's a great place to add equity and create value. And there are so many opportunities to do this, because there's a lot of homes that are ripe for renovation.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for joining us. And we'll talk to you next time.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode of the Abundant Investor Podcast and learned something new. We would love to hear from you. And if you did get something from this episode, please subscribe and rate this podcast so more people can find it and live their rich lives too.
And remember, an abundant mindset means there's always plenty to go around, and through giving, we receive.